Hey guys, this is Bart coming to you from TST Industries in Florida with a 2023 EICMA update. Last week, I attended the International Motorcycle Show in Milan, Italy called EICMA. This is the biggest show around the world. I think there were like 520,000 people that attended. Among those people were press, customers, and then other companies. This show is so big, I think it filled out 8 pavilions and then spilled out over into the outside areas in between pavilions where there were parties, there were demonstrations of product, stunt shows, a whole bunch of things. If you've never been to EICMA, I think that is a trip worthwhile taking. If you're a motorcycle enthusiast, a rider, or part of the industry, that is a must-see, must-attend type of a show. This is my second time going, and this show did not disappoint. Now, for myself personally, I was doing product research. I was also meeting with different company representatives. This was more of a work trip for me, but I decided that I'm gonna take a lot of pictures, videos, and then I'm gonna report on what I found to you guys so that you can feel like you attended in some little way. So my main aim was to survey the companies that we already do business with, all their new products and what we will be bringing to the market potentially in the several years to come now that we see what's launching. My main interest was Suzuki, Kawasaki, Honda, Yamaha, obviously, a little bit of Ducati, KTM, Gas, a couple little interests along the way. I was not too interested in the outlier brands. There are a lot of new brands that I haven't seen before. In fact, there were so many new brands, I was really like, wow, kind of humbled and surprised. We are part of a really huge industry, and it's great to see that it keeps on growing. The market, the economy, we're told, is not in good shape, but like I saw a growth in every sector of our industry. So that is very, very good to see. That makes me feel like motorcycles are here to stay no matter what anybody says, and our industry will continue to evolve and grow. Now, before I got to the meat of what I was interested in mainly, I did take a stroll around all of the different exhibition areas and basically like mapped out and surveyed where everything is. Now, walking around, I just was blasted with attention-grabbing input. All of these different stands competing for everyone's attention. Some companies had shows where people were dancing to music. Some people had light shows. That was just a lot of wild stuff. Now, companies like MV Agusta and Bimota basically relied on just the craziness of their designs to captivate your attention, and they got that. They did not disappoint. I brought back some footage of some really cool designs, and it's great to see that those small companies continue to kick out new product, and it's great to see their design prowess really bring something to reality. I got to witness a couple launch parties. I was in the crowd for the Ducati launch of the new models. For myself, I was really looking to see the new motocross bike that they promised to bring to the market. It's not time for that yet, so that kind of disappointed. They did launch several new variants of what they already make, so I didn't roll footage for that. To me, it's just a remix of what's already being made. There was an adventure bike that they did launch, and that was cool. They also had a really big single-cylinder supermoto bike launching. Again, it's not really within the realm of what I was looking for, so I kind of left that one alone. Aprilia, KTM, Gas, they all had some really cool, interesting motorcycles, but nothing really noteworthy for what we do, so I left that alone and kept walking around. I saw a lot of EVs, but I think percentage-wise, if you guys have caught our AIM Expo show from earlier this year, percentage-wise, EICMA was not as heavily populated by manufacturers of EVs as AIM. However, I think number-wise there were more, and there were more different units on display. There were quite a few scooters, motorcycles, adventure bikes. Many different companies brought their A game in the EV market, but again, this is not what we typically make parts for. It's early still, so we're gonna leave that one alone. I know Kawasaki had a couple noteworthy ones, so I'll get to that a little bit later. So I took some time to walk around and map the place out, and I was barraged with all these flashy lights and dances and all these crazy designs, and finally came to the first booth that I was really interested in, which was Suzuki. That was the first one I visited, where I took some time and spent some time with the machine, surveying them, taking photos, videos, whatnot. Suzuki had several of these 8Ss on display in all the different colors that they come in. They also had the newly launched 8R, which is a fully faired version of this motorcycle. It does also have several different parts on it that you would not expect. The fork is different. We are thinking that it's possibly the same fork as the GSXR 600 750. The lower diameter here of the fork was slightly different. The fairings obviously cover a lot of this stuff, but a lot of our parts will still be applicable to the new 8R, so we're happy about that. We're actually thinking about picking up one of those bikes and building it into a twins racer. So hopefully we'll get that done as soon as the bike launches. The bike itself looked very fun. They did have several different color options for that bike. The fairings were very slim and slim fitting, so it will be a slim bike, very good for ground clearance in turns. One thing I did not like, I was slightly disappointed with, they did go with the same rear sets as on the S version and in the same location. And as I reported in one of our track videos, the ground clearance is crap on this bike. I could not complete turns at pace with this bike because I had to slow down to be able to make the appropriate arc to cover the entry and exit of that turn, of several turns on Roebling Road Raceway, because I was dragging the peg and making sparks. So we've already addressed that issue by making riser plates that will be available really soon. Happy to say they're going to be available for the 8R, but for a racing environment, we will need adjustable rear sets that go up and back quite a bit to make running around the track possible and comfortable. Now, I think the whole bike will have to be suspended a little bit higher. On this particular bike, we're tapped out on the front here, so that would require a triple clamp that accommodates a little bit more, or fork extenders, not a big deal. We can make that happen, but these bikes will need additional ground clearance to make it safe and performance oriented to ride around a track. After I got my fill of Suzuki tech, I moseyed on and went straight to Yamaha. Yamaha has many bikes that we offer parts for, so that was really one of the key places I wanted to check out. Now, the new MT-09 was already promised before I got there, so that was my first bike I wanted to look at, and I found the SP version and the standard version in several different colors, and that was very interesting. The bike was restyled from the previous generation that was only with us for a couple of years. Most of the frame, engine, wheels, suspension, all of that looked the same. The controls looked very similar. There is a new master cylinder for the front brakes, and there is a new clutch perch, so I found that very interesting. There was nothing wrong with the previous generation controls, but Yamaha wanted to kick up their game, and they are cool looking and they're adjustable on both sides. Remains to be seen how they operate and how comfortable they feel to the rider. We'll know that once we get our hands on a bike. We will be purchasing that bike. Styling wise, they did change a lot about the bike. The tank is a much different shape. It looks like when I sat on the bike, it felt like you could anchor better into the bike and be more in the bike. So if you're going through twisties and taking deep corners, that will be an asset. I have a feeling that tank is prepped for the R9 whenever that releases. I was a little disappointed with the lack of the R9. For a number of years now, we've all been praying for an R9 to come out because that is promised to be a very fun track bike, possibly be able to race it. I don't know about that just yet, but I think they are prepping some of the components on that bike to lend itself to the R9 version, and the tank definitely seemed to be one of those things, possibly the controls as well. The front of the bike, there's a whole new headlight and there's a whole new fascia. It sort of looked like Yamaha was going for kind of a robot face look. It did give that feel of Iron Man, sort of with a couple features changed, and the tail end also featured a different undertail, different fairing, and different tail light. This was all mounted to what looked like the same subframe as the previous generation. However, the shape and the body lines were restyled to sort of complement the new tank and the new front fascia that is more blocky and more chopped, less fluid-like design lines. So we'll see what you guys think about it. The more you see this in the pictures, and once the bike comes out, I'm really interested in seeing what everybody says. I prefer the previous generation, or maybe it's the case, like in some years, new bike comes out and it just needs time to grow on me. But the taillight itself really, it did not set off anything in me that was positive. I thought it was very simple and just had this clear section with a red stripe on top. It followed the tail design lines and the body lines a little bit. It was kind of like an afterthought, whereas the previous generation taillight that came with the bike from the factory was very interesting. It had a lot of dimensionality and different cues of design language all coming together. This one I felt didn't really capture the essence of the bike. And that's just my opinion. Once you guys form yours, I hope you'll drop me a comment and let me know what you think, because that helps me in my design approach to my taillight for these bikes. So hit me. I like comments, please, down below. Besides that, Yamaha had the new GP version of the XSR. Not a very interesting unit to me because we're not going to be receiving here in the United States. But looking at it, it borrowed many cues from the FZR series back in the 80s and 90s. And that was kind of cool to see this retro styled CP3 based racer. I think it'd be fun to throw a leg over it and go to the track and have some fun. Now, like I said, we won't be receiving it here in the United States, but a lot of our parts do fit on it based on a eye survey. So I have a feeling we're going to be selling a lot of our parts to the European nations and other markets where this bike will exist. Besides that, all of the other things at the Yamaha area were what we've already seen. I mean, the R1 that was on display, it was the same as previous years, as the latest generation. Now the R1M did have a few differences as compared to the standard version of the R1, so there may be a new R1 coming to us soon. I was not able to get a positive or negative response from the personnel there. They're being very cryptic about it. I know Yamaha dealers here in the United States are not able to order any of the 2024 R1, so there may be a new one that Yamaha will be showing us a little bit later in the year, or possibly at the Tokyo Mobility Show. We don't know yet, but we're hoping for a new one. It's been very, very similar for the last couple of years, and I know Yamaha will want to chase Ducati and BMW in the performance sector, so I'm hoping to see a new one. If a new one comes out, I'm buying it and we're gonna race it and we're gonna have some fun designing some new parts. That remains to be seen. Everything else at the Yamaha booth was pretty much all same all. R7, same, you know, a bunch of race bikes that were really cool to look at, but I can't throw a leg over them. So I got out of there and I went to Honda. Now Honda no longer has the Fireblade that we see here still in the States. The latest generation of the CBR 1000RR that is available here in the States was designed and released in 2017, and some dealers still carry it. There may be a back date on the manufacturer. I'm not sure. They may be discontinued. In Europe, they are in fact discontinued and they're only selling the Triple R version. I was pretty enthused with that bike. That bike was cool. It had some new tech for this year. They're relaunching it with some additional tech, but we're not getting that in our market as a standard unit, as far as I'm told by Honda at the show. So I'm gonna leave it for now. If that does come to our shores, we will probably start designing some parts for that, because it is a really cool, powerful bike. And from what I'm told, the previous generation of the Triple R, the one that has been around and on special order here in the States, the racers that I know that do race it, they say it's a very, very well-balanced machine, once you get into the ECU and remove the restrictions or replace the electrical system. So we'll see about that. I did see that they relaunched the 600RR with a new front fascia and a couple additional sets of technological improvements. They do have a very nice electronics package on the bike now. The whole front end is redone. The rear end is the same thing as on the bike since 2013. No complaints because we already make parts for that bike and we're able to supply them, but it's just very interesting to see that these manufacturers will update one part of the bike, but then leave another part the same as it's been for over a decade. So I find that very interesting and a little disappointing, but again, like I said, we keep selling parts for that bike, no big deal. I would like to see the return of the CBR to the racing circuits, and maybe with this additional tech that they're piling into this machine, maybe we'll see a resurgence of the 600s and the Super Sport Race Series. I don't know, but that's what I'm hoping for. Besides that, I did see some new models of smaller size there. They had a new 650 in the naked and the R CBR version. They had a new 500. There was a 300 there somewhere. I wasn't really focusing on that. The 500 and the 650 do share the same tail light and a similar tail design. The front is a little updated. They did update the motors, at least the specs within the motors, and they do have some new electronics on them. Nothing really too notable. Some of those models do have the availability of the new auto clutch that Honda has released. This is a system that is very, very new. I think Honda has used it on the Goldwing in the years prior, and I think they have enough years perfecting it for that one model where they're starting to spread it to new models. It is set to release the rider from the need to control the clutch. So it basically starts for you and pulls in the clutch whenever you need to pull in the clutch. I don't know if that's a good way to go. I don't know what Honda's going after with this technology. I do like new technology, so I'd like to ride one and see what it's all about. And I could possibly report on that once I ride it for myself. I mean, I've been riding since the 80s, so clutch is kind of just worked in. I've driven manual cars and manual bikes most of my life, so I don't even question that. I don't know what demographic they're trying to hit. All I know is that any technology like that works on algorithms. There's hardware and software, and you have an algorithm that is taught by a set of data. Anytime you go outside of that set of data with either rider input or conditions, it may not perform the way you want it to. So I don't really know how well that technology will adapt, but I find it interesting, and I captured some cool footage of that technology. They had a nice cutaway system. They had a nice cutaway view of the whole engine and the clutch system. So I found that interesting. I surveyed how it works. It's a really cool piece of technology. I personally wouldn't use it. I want to hear if you guys would use it and why, so please drop me a comment. After I got away from that cutaway motor that I stared at for a good amount of time, I went through and saw what else Honda had to offer, and they had the new Hornet 1000 that is set to replace the CB 1000. That was pretty cool, but that's a really big naked bike. For myself, the really powerful naked bikes, what are you gonna do with that? You know, that's a lot of power, a lot of torque, and going out on the street, it's a little silly concept, but some people like it, so that's cool. I like to see new models. That was cool to see, complemented the rest of the Hornet line. Honda also had a couple of cool built-up Hornets, the smaller version of the Hornet. I found those interesting. Somebody's racing these things, and that's cool to see. So I was done with Honda after a good amount of time in there, and then I decided, hey, let's find Kawasaki. Really interested in what they have to offer because I heard they have some really new technology coming out. And I plowed my way through the crowd and got to Kawasaki, and they had a huge display. Most of it was not their show bikes, it was new production machines, and they had a bunch of new production machines. Some of them were EVs and some of them were hybrids. I did not see any of the other 4 come out with a hybrid machine. I found that very interesting. The 7, which is actually a 400 something cc motor with the addition of an electric motor, that was really cool. I found the shape to be very interesting. It was sort of like a mishmash of Ninja 400 and one of the Z's mixed in together with a few concepts from a futuristic movie. It looked really sharp. It did use some of the parts that we already make, so that was cool to see. We'll be able to provide parts for that bike should it come to our shores here in the United States. Besides that, I won't have anything else to report until I throw a leg over one and take it to the track. I'm really chomping at the bit to take one of these things to the track and really feel what this new technology is gonna feel like. But that's it for now on that model. I moseyed over to find if there's an update to the Ninja 400, and boom, there was no Ninja 400. It was replaced by a Ninja 500, which was very interesting to me because I knew that dealers in the United States were not able to order the 2024 Ninja 400 for a while, and we were expecting something new. I did not expect it to be a 500, and that's pretty cool to see. I don't know how that's gonna fit into the different race classes. At the moment, the 500cc class does not really exist in professional racing. There are some club racing organizations that have that, but the 500 kind of falls in between 2 classes. So we'll see what shakes out of that once the bike launches and club racing organizations have the task of trying to fit it somewhere. I think that bike does show promise. However, it is just a descendant of the 400. The block looked the same. I think it's just stroked. I didn't look at the specs yet. I didn't have time. Among all of this data coming at me, I did not distill any of it into any form understandable to me, but I know the engine looks the same, so it's probably just stroked, possibly punched out 1 mil over or something like that. The taillight is different on that bike. The body works a little bit different. The forks remain the same. The rear suspension is the same. The swing arm is the same. The frame looked identical to my naked eye. So there's nothing really noteworthy beyond, hey, bigger displacement, different taillight, and possibly a little bit more snot to go faster and cut down those lap times. I'll be interested to take a ride on one once they launch. We will likely buy one and develop a couple performance parts around that platform. Since we already have the Ninja 400 platform pretty well spec'd out, we'll be able to roll really fast into some cool technology that we'll be offering to you guys should you decide to want to go faster or put cooler lights on your motorcycle. The ZX6R remains as we've already seen and captured in our videos. The 2024 model dropped before I even left for EICMA, so we were able to do a bunch of design and release some parts already, and we have a bunch of videos if you want to check those out. tstindustries.com in each individual product page or our YouTube channel as always. The ZX10 remains unchanged. There was a new color added. I really like those colors. That was when I started riding street motorcycles right around that time, 94, 95, 96. And that's really like the birth of the street motorcycle enthusiasm in me. So it kind of tugs on a memory, and I really enjoyed seeing those color schemes come to fruition, and they offered that in all the R and RR models. So that's pretty cool. The models themselves mechanically remain pretty unchanged with the exception of the 24 ZX6R, as I already said. The ZX4RR was also met with a single R version. Now, I don't know if we're getting that in our market, but that bike looked very similar. It was probably just like a down-spec bike with a different color scheme. No big things to report on that. That pretty much sums up Kawasaki. There were other models that were on display, but they're not noteworthy or congruent with what we do here at TST Industries, so I'm gonna leave that alone. After Kawasaki, I just took some time in the next couple of days to just mosey around and like take it all in. And I gotta say, it was humbling to see how big this industry is and how many competitors we have out there. We are just a small fish in a really, really large sea, and it was great to see everybody's ideas on display to see how we stack up with those companies. I hope some of you guys were able to attend EICMA. If you haven't, I highly encourage you to check it out. It is a great event, and I think it's just going to get better throughout the years as more competition comes to the table and the market grows. And as we've seen, the market is still growing. That's great to see. I'm really happy to see that. I'm very happy to have taken this trip. I can't wait till the Tokyo Mobility Show in 2024. I will go out there and check it out and bring back some info so we can make the same kind of a video and report to you what you missed if you didn't make it to the show. I want to thank you for watching. Check out tstindustries.com. We have some cool parts that you may be interested in for your bike, any of your machines in your stable. Also, like comments. Let me know how I did in this video. Let me know what you think of the models that I've mentioned. We are going to be making parts for the new models, so if you have any ideas, throw them at me. I love conversing with you guys, so hit me down below in the comment feed. Also, please like and subscribe. That helps our channel grow and reach more audience like you. I'm done here. Thanks for watching. Ride safe. See you later.